Okay, so let's look at this message, then give my opinion. It says, "Hi Ikenna, I write you from Turkey. Um, let's see. Okay, I have a 2.2 cc petrol engine Peugeot 407 3FZ version. Does this car have a MAF sensor? It emits black smoke at the first start. It can't burn the fuel appropriately. I couldn't solve the problem. Can you please help me? I connected the car to a diagnostics and the trouble code are as follows." Okay, so let's look at this. It says oxygen sensor and air pump fault. Okay, let me look at the other. So this is not in English. So this is the car scan, the scan report. But it's not in English. So what I'll do is, what I've done was, before I started this video, so let's work with this code. However, I'll point out that cases like this, I prefer PP2000. The definition tends to differ in some error code than use checking the one that is defined or stated generally online. Okay, so let's start P0300. So this one is usually misfire when there's undetected misfire on various cylinders or any of the cylinders. So that is one. Now P1336. So this is where I will need PP2000 definition. I already know what PP2000 usually states, but it depends on engine or engine ECU. Definition might differ. P1336, some ECUs will tell you is timing related, that the timing is not correct, engine timing is off, while some tell you it still has to do with misfire. So that's why I say if it was PP2000, you know exactly what you are dealing with in this particular case. Then the other code P0413 is an air pump. The air pump is there on 407 EW12J4 engine. That air pump is beside the air filter box. There is a hose that connects it from the cylinder head. Usually when engine is cold, when you start the engine, the air pump will run for about a minute or so, then goes off. So you can be able to tell whether the air pump is working or not. The next code is P0135. That is upstream oxygen sensor. The upstream oxygen sensor, the one with a green color connector. While the last error code, P0141, that is the downstream oxygen sensor. So I've seen the VIN. The VIN is actually reporting that is at AW12J4. That's the 3FZ version. So this is what I will tell you. Now, the only fault that we did not ascertain exactly what it is, considering that this is not you didn't use PP2000 to scan, is the P1336. So which could be timing later. Now you say it's not burning fuel very well, but one thing I would say is it's kind of strange that the two oxygen sensors are not working. It's hard. I'm yet to come across. It's possible, but I'm yet to come across a Peugeot car that two oxygen sensors fail at the same time. It's usually not the case. One could fail, the other will still be working. So if both of them stop working, in that case, I will suggest that you may have to check the fuse that powers the oxygen sensor. What I don't remember in 407, since it's EW12 3FZ version of 407, then the BSM will be LO2. So what I would suggest is check. Maybe I should have checked it before starting up this video to tell you which of the fuse box to check. Maybe I can still check it before the video runs out. Let's see. But you may have to check to be sure if there's a particular fuse that powers both oxygen sensors, then check to be sure it hasn't cut. And what we usually cut the fuse that powers oxygen sensor is if one of the oxygen sensors starts to bridge, or maybe positive is touching the negative, something like that. Yeah, it will blow the fuse. So that's what you need to check. I'm saying this with understanding or assumption that both sensors are connected. I didn't disconnect them. Of course, you can tell by doing a live test, even if you don't know what the sensors look like. You do a live test or parameter measurement, see if there's any value when the engine is running from those sensors. Especially the upstream is supposed to be fluctuating the values, while the downstream in the beginning when you start the car will be static. At some point then it will start to change. So that is where we then cause black smoke. I don't know, did you mention black smoke? I'm not sure you did, but you said it doesn't burn for very well. So in that case, oxygen sensor doesn't really, for 3FZ, it said, okay, I think you said bring out black smoke when you first start the cars. I'll read your fault again, your post again to be sure. Oxygen sensor doesn't really, especially for 3FZ in 407. Yeah, the consumption will go up, but not necessarily like start blowing out black smoke. Random misfire, let me leave that one for now. See, two things that I will tell you right now, aside your oxygen sensors, two things you need to confirm your timing. The timing comes with its own fault. If your timing is fault, what I mean is, if its timing is supposed to, P1336 might come up, but it's supposed to also come up with something else, which is the cylinder reference sensor communication issue. That's the camshaft position sensor fault. But let's assume maybe this particular ECU, this is what it will. See, the reason why we are saying that is we didn't see the definition of PP2000. If we had used PP2000 to scan, maybe what you would have shown in this case against the P1336 would be that cylinder reference sensor issue. So in that case, yeah, the car, in fact, most times if your timing is off for EW12J4, especially the 3FZ version, the car will not have power. It may start and run, but man, it will be running very slowly. There won't be much power. It will have start sometimes. Yeah, you have the experience, of course, if it's not running very well, yeah, the consumption will go high anyway. So that's one thing you need to check. Unfortunately, not everybody knows how to set EW12J4 timing. It's not the same with EW10J4. The EW12J4, which is the 2.2, just a little bit different, even though they use the same timing kit. But the way of setting is different to some extent. Similar but not identical. Let me just use it that way. So not everybody knows how to set the 2.2 petrol engine timing belt properly for the camshaft to synchronize with the crankshaft. So you need to do that. Then the next thing is your fuel pressure, because your fuel pump will not tell you. If your fuel pressure is low, it won't tell you that your fuel pump is weak. You see faults like this. Not the timing shouldn't be there, but misfire definitely. Oxygen sensor definitely. Oxygen sensor, that one of them usually is one that will report. So I'm surprised that both of them are showing faulty. Because because a low fuel pressure will be reporting excessive fueling. So your oxygen sensor will pick that fault to tell you that the car is running very rich. So it will show the fault. So but the definition will not be like, oh, this oxygen sensor is bad. The definition will be that engine is running very rich or running very lean, which might be in this case. So it would have made sense that it's not even, I mean, I don't care so much about the error code in your case. It's the definition that really matters. So I would suggest you find a fuel pressure gauge or fuel pressure tester and check to be sure is when you switch on ignition, you're supposed to get 3.5 bar or 50 psi. Then you start the car, it stays on that 3.5 bar or 50 psi. Anything higher or anything lower, then there's a problem with your fuel delivery. Could be your fuel pump, could be your fuel pressure regulator. Essentially, regulator will have issue, will affect the pressure in the engine bay. If you switch off the engine, immediately it will start dropping, or it will rapidly drop to zero if your fuel pressure regulator is bad. So your timing and the timing and the fuel pressure needs to be checked. If your car had the 3FY version of the 2.2, I would have suggested you check the catalytic converter, the one on the exhaust manifold. It's not in yours, so don't bother. That's what I would have recommended. You check the catalytic converter that is attached on the cylinder head. It's part of the exhaust manifold. Experience have taught me that when that one blocks or partially block, what will happen is you start getting oxygen sensor fault, especially the downstream oxygen sensor fault, and you'll be getting some issues, black smoke, no power, fuel consumption will go high. The car won't have much power. So but you're okay, you don't have it. But then you still have our oxygen catalytic converter, which is under the vehicle. So maybe you may have to check that one too. Don't know if there's any way you can check it to be sure that it's not blocked. Your oxygen sensor is supposed to tell you if it's blocked. And yes, your downstream oxygen sensor is showing that something is wrong. But because the definition is not Peugeot, the one definition that I only use the error code, check online, and it showed downstream oxygen sensor. I didn't bother to check what it's trying to explain the error code. If it was PP2000, to tell you exactly what it means, whether it's saying that the catalyst is faulty, or just because it shows oxygen sensor does not mean it's saying the oxygen sensor is bad. It could be the oxygen sensor is actually reporting that your catalyst is faulty or blocked. You could also check the catalytic converter using a thermometer. There is a procedure. You start the vehicle, let it run and become very hot. Then you press the throttle like 2500 RPM. Then you point it in the input and the output. So that's how you know. I'm trying to remember, if the catalytic converter is still good, the input will be colder or be the same temperature with the output. But if the catalytic converter is blocked, If you put, you press, you touch, you use your thermometer, your input will be hotter than the output. So now you know. So but like I said, so you mentioned the two oxygen sensors. I would suggest you go and check to be sure those fits. Let's see whether we can find it. Let's see.